Sharanam Gacchami
Buddham Sharanam Gacchami
Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami
Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami
Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami
Sangham Sharanam Gacchami
Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami
Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami
Lada lame jubenji, shabje pemo la dujing, pumbakun la dunzema, domayum la chance lo, tare dure soha, dure so. Dare dure soha, dure soha, dure soha, dure soha, dure soha. Dare dure soha, dure soha, dure soha, dure soha, dure soha. Dare dure so, 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 dare dure so. Dare dure so, dare dure so, dare dure so, dare dure so, dare dure so. Dare dure so, 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 dare dure so. Dare dure so, 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 dare dure so. Dare dure so, 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 dare dure so. Dare dure so, 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 dare dure dare dure so, 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 dare dure so. Dare dure so, gewandi, you do the pomo drama, do general, what you can Diye salang gu bara sho. Tashi Delek, everyone. The Tibetan word Tashi Delek means, Tashi means may there be auspiciousness. Delek, these two words, de and lek, basically means the word de means well-being, leg also something like well-being. So may you be well and happy, something like that. So which basically means may you achieve nirvana as well as enlightenment. So that is why in many texts you will find that the text starts by a word called Om Delik Suchurtik. There means Om refers to the combination of three letters, A, O, Ma, which symbolizes your body, speech, and mind, which basically symbolizes the person. So basically, it's praying that the person, achieves that well-being and happiness, which means the person being able to achieve nirvana and liberation. So it has a very profound meaning. So normally when we greet Tashi Delek, it means it's a very wonderful greeting. That may you have the auspiciousness of liberation and auspiciousness of enlightenment. Very profound. Okay. It's much more than just good morning or good afternoon or good evening. But may you have that long-lasting happiness. Now that long-lasting happiness, as we have discussed several times, is in your hand, not in the hand of others, not so much in the hand of others, even not so much in the hand of the Buddha. Because Buddha is a teacher, he can only show the path, and unless we practice, we'll not be able to drive the benefit of the teaching and will thereby not be able to achieve that reliable happiness and suffering. So this is something that we need to remind ourselves regularly. I want happiness, I want long-lasting happiness. This should really be something like your mantra. Otherwise, we tend to forget. We tend to get distracted by simple fleeting pleasures and get completely absorbed into that moment and forget the long-term well-being and happiness. So you need to remind yourself again and again, why am I doing this? I want long-lasting happiness. The thing that I'm doing right now is not going to lead to long-lasting happiness. Okay, especially there are many things which we do, which is really of not much meaning. There is a story of the great Kadamba Master Podova, who always remained very busy. He would always say, very busy. No, I'm very busy. I'm very busy. So these days also we are all saying I'm very busy. We are running hither and thither. So what is the difference between this busy life of Kadamba Master Podova and the so-called busy life of ours? The difference is Podova was busy thinking about Dharma, meditating on Dharma, contemplating on Dharma. We are busy, and Podova is busy trying to transform his internal emotions, mental attitude. We are busy chasing the external glamorous life, right? So that's the difference. You can always be busy, but the important thing is, as I repeatedly said many times before, what are you busy about? That is important. It's really not important to be busy, and especially mentally, like having anxiety, depression, all this. Many of these things comes because of your mind too busy trying to get too many things, not able to get even one properly. That's why the Buddha's teaching, concentrate. Concentrate means not just focusing on one object, but more important than that, concentration means concentrate more on helping others. Concentrate more on those things which is really important for you. Don't get distracted. So the word concentration has so many different meanings, right? So therefore this life is short. We are already, many of us are already in our midlife. I hope you are not facing midlife crisis. So we are already, like many of us, maybe in the category of elderly people. Many of us maybe in the 30s or 20s at least. So that time is already gone. And the rest of the time also, there's no guarantee how long you're going to live. But there's nothing to worry about that. Nothing to worry about that. As I said, this is important. As I said earlier, that what you will achieve in your life is not determined by how long you live. It is determined by how you live each and every moment, each and every day. So if you live your life meaningfully, even one day, even 1 second, even one meaning is really important, precious, and that will give you happiness, peace, and so forth. Contrarily, if you live like even very long, but all you do is negative deeds, then it is better not to live very long. So therefore, Tibetans have a kind of, I should not call it prayer, but it's kind of saying where we say, may the sinners have a short life. For me, this seems very true when I reflect about those so-called leaders who are bringing hell on this earth, who misuse their power and make everybody unhappy. So I pray that may they have a short life, right? So it's really not so much about how long you live, it is how you live. And then also it is important to remember, death is not end of everything. There's no death to the consciousness. There's no death to the mind. The mind travels, carrying with it all the positive imprints or negative imprints, whatever imprints you have left on the mind. So what is important is to make our mind habituated with positive ways of thinking. I must acknowledge that it is easier said than done. In life, we confront many problems, many ups and downs, things like that. But if you change your perspective, as somebody rightly said, if you're having pain, normally when you have a pain, of course, it is unfortunate. But this wise man, he says, if you have pain, it means you're alive. There's the good news, you see. You're not dead. If you have pain, it means you're alive. And if you feel the pain of other people, it means you are truly a human being, right? So therefore, it is true that we have ups and downs, we get sick and all those problems, but feeling kind of discouraged and losing hope is not the solution. Is not the solution. And in fact, the purpose of such spiritual practice is even in the most difficult period, you should try to cheer up your mind, think more about the positive things. Even when you're sick, even when you're not well, sometimes you will find that comparing to life of some other people, yours is much better. So when you think in this way, then that takes some burden from your mind. So your mental attitude really makes a big difference, big difference. And then the most important thing is, in whatever situation you are, what the Buddha is teaching is, take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. That means the way you think, the things that you say, the things that you eat, all your conducts and behaviors should be monitored through self-reflection. If you are somebody who's really very good disciplined in terms of doing the right exercise, getting the needed amount of sleep, taking the proper food, not just trying to please the tongue, it is guaranteed that your physical health will be much better. And when your physical health is much better, the mind, which is dependent on that body, also feel rested and feel more fresh. That's very important, very important, because we are mortal beings. We are not immortal, right? So we need rest. We need a little bit of enjoyment here and there, not the destructive kind of entertainment, but simply make your mind lighter, make your body feel lighter. So all these different techniques are important. And the purpose of looking after your body so well is not simply become like white and plump and strong with the muscles. It's not that purpose to make a show of yourself to others. That's not the purpose. The purpose is that you are undertaking such a Mahayana practice which is of value and benefit to so many people. Because of what you do, because of what you think, you are important for many people. It is not necessary that you are a famous teacher or somebody holding a high power, but because of your practice, because of your way of thinking. So many of you who are right now participating in this talk, I really do think, I don't know all of you individually, but I have high regard to all of you. You're good people. You're trying your best to do something. So it means you already have those values. So it's important to recognize one's own good things also, right? And then you should say, yes, I'm lucky. Yes, I have not disturbed anybody. Yes, I have not harmed anybody. Yes, I'm earning my livelihood in a, honest way. What else you need? So instill that kind of happiness in your mind, you see? And the internal happiness is not something that you can weigh on a scale or, you know, so something that you can show to other people, see, this is my, progress. It is something that you experience on a regular daily basis, and then because of your behavior, your physical, verbal, mental behavior, it is influencing many other people. You may not notice it because you're not trying to, make a show of it, and you don't pay much attention to it. But imagine the benefit, the ripple effect that you will have on many other people. So that is what we need in the society. That's how the society changes, right? I mean, there are so many people who talk about changing the world. As I said before, the world is not functioning properly, so let us change the world. And then some of the leaders who have the power, they brought about all these revolutions. It's French Revolution, it's Russian Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, whatever. There's so many revolutions they have brought. But at the end of the day, most of these revolutions are, result of enmity, hatred, be it the class struggle or whatever. So therefore, solution never found. So therefore, if you really want the world, to change, you have to change first. That is the rule of the game. Because the world is nothing but collection of individuals. Individual, the word individual came from indivisibility, meaning indivisible from the bigger whole, the world. So we are part of that world. So how can you change the big world without changing its parts, without changing its members? Now, when you talk, things like that, people might say, yeah, no, it's easier said than done, because what impact will be there just by my change, such a insignificant fellow. That is where you make mistake. The changes that you are bringing about is not for kind of a political leadership to get a post or name, things like that. Therefore, you don't keep a track of it, but it is influencing many people in your life also. Sometimes it's really important to, to appreciate, rejoice the good parts. For example, in your own case, irrespective of how rich you are, normally people, when they think about helping other people, they think about sharing something, physically or materially. That's not the thing. In Buddhism, the most important gift is the gift of Dharma teaching. That means guiding people. So now you think, sit down and think how many people you helped in your own way. I'm sure you will find that you've done many or done much according to your limited capacity. So that is something to rejoice. That's how you are making your life meaningful. So don't think that you're just embodiment of negative emotions and there's nothing good. We are not saying things like that. But we do lay emphasis on negative emotions because that's our enemy number one. So that does not mean to say that you don't have any virtuous qualities, nothing good. Human beings are like horrible. They're ready. All of us are ready to go to hell. We're not saying things like that. We're simply highlighting the negative emotions because they are our enemy. They are going to bring a lot of harm. So therefore, we must be careful. That's why we talk so much about negative emotions, right? So it's important occasionally to talk about good things, because unless you do that, sometimes people think, okay, the world is hopeless. In the newspapers also, you mostly see, robbers, brigands, politicians fighting each other, terrorists attacking each other, countries bullying each other. These are the news. But that doesn't mean whole humanity is doing like that. This becomes news because these are against human nature. Anything that against that are Generally speaking, anything that is striking becomes news. So that's why they become news. But that doesn't mean that the whole society or the whole humanity is hopeless. There's nobody good, Don't think like that. So we need to share the good news, talk about the good things, right? It's very important. I wish some of the main television channels, instead of continuously showing Bollywood, Hollywood, and cricket and things like that, we should show about some, things, good things done by people. I'm 100% sure there's so many things to talk about, right? So what I'm saying is we need to give hope and encouragement to each other, help each other, and live this short life happily, peacefully. So that is our purpose. So that's why in the preceding verses that we discussed during the previous sessions, we spoke about many of the sufferings in the case of different sentient beings. So therefore, now in this verse number 103, it says that that is the nature of the samsara. Okay, that is the nature of the samsara. So therefore, whether you are born as a demigod or born in the hell being or born as a hungry ghost or born as an animal, all these births are not good birth. This is what this text. These are not good birth. Because if you take birth in this form, then you become susceptible to all kind of harms. Because your life itself is such that you are susceptible to all these harms, external, internal harms. Even in the case of human beings, we are counted as belonging to the higher status comparing to those in the hungry ghost or hell or animal, where we are supposed to be in the class of the higher status. But even in our case, if you look at the nature of our psychophysical aggregate, you can easily see how vulnerable, how fragile your body is. I spoke about this earlier, how fragile your body is. It's made of flesh, bones, blood, not made of diamond, not made of even iron or hard stones. It's made of flesh, right? And then look at our emotions, immature emotions, uncontrolled emotions, especially in today's world, we are really living in a kind of pressure cooker society, ready to burst out and explode, you see. So the surrounding is like that, and then the people inside them also, because their attitude, their outlook, so much dependent on environment. Inside, we don't have much control. We don't have the right way of seeing things from the right perspective. So therefore, we get easily carried out by the situations in our surrounding, right? So therefore, the purpose of such spiritual practice is that you transform your mind in such a way that you are able to see the deeper reality. You call it impermanence, you call it emptiness, whatever you call it, but the main point is you should be able to see the deeper law of nature. When you see the deeper law of nature, you will find that we are all closely connected to each other. We are all heavily interdependent on each other. So therefore, our happiness is also very much dependent upon each other. So when you are dependent upon each other, those on which you are dependent, if you harm them, how can you get happiness? How can you get happiness? The very hand which is feeding you, if you chop this hand, how are you going to have a hand which will continue to help you? So it's all because of ignorance. We were not able to see all those. We are only confused with our small surrounding and then thinking about just I, me, and mine. Right? So therefore, what these teachings are saying is broaden your way of seeing and thinking. Number one, we are all, from a larger perspective, we are all like a group of people sailing in a boat in a turbulent water. So when a group of people sailing in a turbulent boat, because of the surrounding situation that the water is turbulent, they're all together in that small boat. they will never think about the differences, from which country you came from, whether you're a man or women. People will forget all this. Because the situation is such that the only thing is that you think about what is going to help each other. What is the common feature of all of you selling in the board? Naturally, those things will come. So that's why, in Buddhism also, we talk so much about the suffering of animals, suffering of, the samsara and things like that. Because if you see that nature, then if you see the reality that we are all in this samsara, which is like a small boat, turbulent boat, turbulent because we have suffering of birth, suffering of aging, suffering of sickness, so many types of sufferings. So once you really see that reality, then the only thing that makes sense, that is sensible, is to be compassionate, to help each other, to be patient, to be forgiving. So these are practices which is a necessity in our regular life, not only for attaining nirvana or enlightenment, but necessity in our day-to-day life. You will feel much better. And occasionally, I try to practice it. And when I do it, I can see there's a shift, Yes, and when you have developed this shift in your attitude, especially those people who are like a little bit troublesome, things like that. I mean, I can't believe this. Immediately, that person becomes more the same person. That person did nothing, but because of your change of attitude, that person now seems more friendly. And you don't have any difficulty to approach that person and talk to this person. This is something that I've been practicing. Not as a great spiritual practitioner, but as I'm learning this, improving the human relationship, you see. And once you accept that all of us are not perfect, all of us are not Buddha, all of us have, faults and foibles, right? You also have that. It's not that you are perfect, the rest of the, flock is a bunch of stupid people. It's not like that. You also have fault, they also have fault. And that the fault and problem, these are not necessarily something that you can never, is not something that you cannot deal with, something that it's not something that you cannot avoid, right? Right? And then, as I repeatedly said, that from a Buddhist point of view, the reason that you respect everybody is because they all have Buddha nature. In one of the Madhyamika texts, it says, you should pay homage to the new moon than the fully developed moon, because the fully developed moon comes from the new moon. You have the new moon, then the crescent, and then the fully developed moon, right? So sentient beings, in a way, the seed of the Bodhisattva, they have the Buddha nature. So respect that. And then all of this, even from a secular point of view, all of these people in this globe, rich, poor, educated, not educated, each and every individual is unique. As I said earlier, you are the only original copy, as I said earlier. Each one of you are the only original copy found throughout this, not only world, but throughout this universe. So that means you're not only just you're different, but it means you have your unique feature. You have your unique capacity. So therefore, one must respect oneself, not because of you're smart, not because you're intelligent, not because you're the so-called educated. These are not important. These are secondary. The most important thing is you have the Buddha nature from Buddhist viewpoint, or otherwise also you are a very unique original figure. You're not duplicate. You're not photocopy, right? So that means you really have, if you recognize that, you have very special capacity. So don't think that you are somebody never went to school. No, many of these great enlightened beings in the past, they did not go to any formal school, right? So therefore, the very concept of education today is really questionable, whether what we are getting is educated. There are many, many people who never went to any formal school, but they are highly, highly educated in terms of the real meaning of education, right? So my point is, however desperate, however difficult the situation is, do not lose hope. Maintain as much as possible cheerful attitude. So maintaining cheerful attitude itself, I'm not saying that just maintain your cheerful attitude and all problem will vanish. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is when you maintain this more realistic, cheerful perspective, then you will also resort to other ways and means to take care of yourself. But if you lose hope, remain completely discouraged, then even when there is a easily available solution, you will not go for that solution. So therefore, it's really safe to conclude that much of the suffering we are experiencing today is, as His Holiness repeatedly said, is unnecessary suffering. These are called unnecessary suffering because there is a method, there is a means to stop this suffering. That's why we talk about, happiness as a choice. Happiness is not a result, but it is a choice that you make. Whether you want to be happy or not want to be happy is basically in your hand, how you think, you see. And when your mind is really, if you have a positive mental outlook, whatever be the situation, however turbulent the situation, still you can maintain a very good level of happiness. But when your mind is disturbed, unhappy, even if you're surrounded by the best of material facilities, best of friends, you may be the owner of like 10 buildings, 100 and 200 cars, which many people, so-called rich people, have that, which doesn't make any sense, but they have that. So they have like 10, 20 buildings, 100 or so different types of cars and things like that. But mostly their children are drug addicts, going in the wrong direction. So how can you have happiness? So clearly showing that material accumulation itself is not the solution. While I'm not against anybody becoming rich or wealthy, but what I'm saying is, if your mind is really well controlled, having the right mental perspective, and on top of that, if you have the external wealth, then you will be happy. Not only you will be happy, you will also be able to share all of those things to others, and you can make so many people happy. Right? So therefore, this verse is saying that samsara being so, there is no favorable birth, so long as you are born among, demigods or humans or hell beings, pretas or animals, because this birth should be known as a vessel of much harm. Right? Now that primarily means the samsara, you're born into this samsara, then it is not good. That means the samsara or the suffering that we are talking about primarily refers to the conditioned suffering. Conditioned suffering primarily refers to your psychophysical aggregate, which is projected by negative emotions and contaminated actions. So therefore, when Buddha taught the Four Noble Truth, and we are talking about eliminating the suffering, he is primarily talking about eliminating this conditioned suffering, the psychophysical aggregate. Now that means you cannot just commit suicide and then do away with the conditioned suffering. That's not the solution. Many people think like that. Oh, there's so much problem, I should commit suicide. That's stupid. Because your mind will continue. You cannot end yourself like that. And it is also sinful, right? So what he is suggesting is that you should now change your way of thinking, way conduct, and engage in more of the positive virtuous practices. And then the rebirth that you will have next time will be not the one projected by negative karma and contaminated actions, especially if you achieve liberation and come out of the samsara. then you are not too subject to all these sufferings that is borne by animals, hell beings, and so forth. Okay, so that is our target: fighting against the negative emotions. That is our prime target. If you know the length and breadth of the Dharma, it's wonderful. But if you don't know, but at least you should find out some of these terrible negative emotions and try to reduce them. Then you are doing Dharma practice. Okay. Now, this being such an important project, so therefore, verse number 104 says, even if one's head or clothing should suddenly catch fire, one should stop extinguishing it and exert oneself rather in putting an end to rebirth. No aim is more exalted than that. There is a Tibetan saying, in Tibet, so Tibetans are saying that now I'm so busy that even if my head is on fire, I have no time to extinguish it. So here it is saying that because the project of removing the negative emotions is so strong, so therefore your spiritual practice now becomes very urgent, so that even if your head is on fire, you have no time to extinguish it. The time where you could, the only place where you can spend time is removing the negative emotions, fighting against the negative actions. So that's what he's saying. So that means there should be some sense of urgency. And that sense of urgency will come only if you have a very close understanding of how much we are suffering in the samsara. So therefore, it's important to think about the faults of cyclic existence. That's why the great teachers, they repeatedly talk about cultivating the three principal aspects of the path: renunciation, bodhicitta, and emptiness, out of which the first is renunciation. Renunciation means not running away, but renunciation means having properly ascertained and understood the many dimensions of sufferings in the samsara, right? So you cannot just remain like that, On the one hand, there's immense suffering of different types. On the other hand, we are not sure when we are going to die. So once you understand that, then you are also able to develop a sense of urgency. And once you develop that sense of urgency, there will be no problem for you to engage into Dharma practice. And in fact, you will do that just like, an elephant that is scorched by the heat of the summer runs happily into the cool water, right? Because if you don't develop this genuine renunciation, you will never make an effort to come out of this ocean of cyclic existence. We'll continue to develop that craving to this present existence. And then there's no way to achieve the peace of liberation or nirvana. So therefore, you may say you are very busy, but this text is saying that there's no other work which is more important than that one. Right? So in short, it is saying that to have more reliable, now forget about nirvana for the time being, it is basically saying to have more reliable peace and happiness of the mind is most important. Then material accumulation, then having many buildings, then having many cars and things like that, even in this life. That's the point. The external material accumulations, the more you accumulate, the more it will bring suffering also. Nothing comes value free. Right? Right? The less you have actually, individually speaking, I'm not talking about the world as a whole, individually speaking, actually, the more contentment you have, the less you have, the freer you will be. Wherever you want to go, you can go. You have no worry and concern that your things will be stolen by the robbers and thieves like that. Okay, whoever come, let them come kind of attitude. You're free. The reason that we are not free, despite all that we're talking about freedom, independence, things like that. And when we struggle for so-called freedom, we are always thinking that freedom, independence is something that is restricted by some opponent. That's not true all the time. The real freedom is not just freedom from the domination of external forces, but the domination by negative emotions upon yourself. There are hundreds and thousands of people who live in a so-called independent free country, but they are not free. They're also not because of the control from that particular leaders and particular country, but mainly not free because of one's own anger, jealousy, hatred, and so forth. So that is in your hand. So we are very interesting, people, Those things which are in our hand, we don't do. And those things which not in our hand, then we ask, oh, I want this, I want that, Mommy, I want my lollipop, If you don't give me, then, you kick and yell and shout and cry, We're really like those small innocent kids, And I've been saying this to my Tibetan friends also, It's very easy to blame the Chinese wrongdoing. That's true. That's true. It's very easy to say that China is now Sinicizing, Buddhism, Sinicizing Tibetan language and everything, which is very bad. We have every right to voice our concern against that. But more important thing than that is what you can do by yourself in a free country. We hardly do, believe me. This is human nature. So which also shows that you're interested in just expressing kind of your concerns so that other people are able to notice it, and then they applaud you and saying, oh, he is very hardworking, he is saying this thing. But actually we are not doing anything or not much to preserve our own language, our culture. That all this should be done in a sense of urgency, given the Chinese mind, given the small population of Tibetans, given the fact that Tibetans are scattered all over the world. So the threat is looming large. And the deterioration of Tibetan culture and language is happening with a great speed. So therefore, for those of us who are in exile, we have some kind of urgency to solve that, to take some concrete steps quickly. But then again, as I said, it's human way, We are fond of just criticizing others, saying that, if I get the freedom, then I'll bring the heaven on the earth kind of slogan. Tibetans have been living in a free country for thousands of years. We couldn't bring that heaven on earth, right? So therefore, whether it's Tibetan or non-Tibetan doesn't matter. But what I am saying is that we should individually, or at the level of the family or society, we should take concrete steps to bring that peace and happiness and harmony and freedom within ourselves and within the society and so forth. So that is the most important project. Okay. So the actual renunciation means when you make your mind habituated with the obsession for this life, obsession for future life, when you realize this obsession as a big obstruction, and then because of this, when you repeatedly think day and night, the futility of such obsessions to this life and the future life, and day and night, if you kind of voluntarily aspire to achieve liberation, then that is the sign you have developed a genuine renunciation. When that spirit of renunciation comes voluntarily in an uncontrived way, Just like a mother who has just lost her only beloved son or child, mother who has lost her only beloved child will day and night think about that lost child. So like that, if you develop that longing for nirvana, having fed up with the samsara, if that is there, then there is true renunciation. Once it is there, nobody has to ask you to do Dharma practice. So therefore, in the Buddhist practice, when we talk about the six perfections, one of the important practice is the effort or perseverance. Effort means not making some, not just making effort because somebody has told you or your teacher has asked you to do that. But effort basically means without having anybody to tell you that because of your having understood the importance of nirvana, your having understood the limitations of samsara and so forth, if you are voluntarily engaging in that practice delightfully, then it means you are making the effort. Okay. So therefore, now, as I said, achieving liberation, that project is very important. Now, in order to materialize that project, you need to cultivate the causes. So verse 105 says, through morality, wisdom, and dhyana, one must achieve nirvana, the immaculate state of peace and subdual, ageless, deathless, eternal, and free of earth, water, fire, air, sun, and moon. So that means the cause for achieving such a liberation is the practice of the three precepts, or three trainings: morality, concentration, and wisdom. So that means when you undertake these three practices, you will either achieve that nirvana with residue or nirvana without residue. Okay, so therefore you will achieve that state of transcendence, the immaculate state of peace. Peace means that when you achieve that nirvana without residue, when there's no residue of your psychophysical aggregate, then that is complete state of peace. So therefore it is called peace. Now if you achieve a nirvana with residue, then still your senses are tamed, disciplined. So therefore it is called now I'm not using this translation. I don't agree with many of the words. So when you achieve that nirvana with residue, still your senses are very much disciplined. So therefore this is called, that state is also called disciplined. Whether you achieve the nirvana with residue or without residue, in both the cases, there is no defilement of attachment. So therefore it is called stainless. Okay. So therefore, you must make attempt to achieve such a state of transcendence, such a state of nirvana, such a state of liberation. Now that state of liberation, now these lines, ageless, very clear, deathless, very clear, eternal, very clear. The meaning that it is a state free from earth, water, fire, air, sun, and moon. One way of explanation is there are some other philosophical traditions, like non-Buddhist philosophical traditions, who, when they talk about nirvana, they would explain it with a physical place, like a moon is nirvana, or a sun is nirvana. Anyway, they point it. Some of them, I read some of the texts, they say that nirvana will be like a white umbrella upside down, shape and color also they have explained. But in Buddhism, we don't talk about nirvana as a special physical place where you reach. Nirvana, sometimes we use the word transcendence of suffering. So nirvana is a state of your mind. Sometimes it is also called cessation. Out of the Four Noble Truths, we use the word true cessation. That means when the negative emotions have ceased on your mental level, that state of cessation of negative emotions in your mind is called nirvana. So it's a mental realization, not traveling to a particular physical place. There's one of meaning. Another way of this explanation is when you reach such a state, then you don't have to depend on sun, moon, and things like that. You're so equipped with your own, energy and realization that you become independent of your dependence on these external elements. Okay, so that's another way of explaining it. In other words, when you reach nirvana, then you will achieve a psychophysical aggregate, which is not dependent on earth, water, fire, wind, and so forth, or other elements. Right now, we are very much dependent on external elements. The solid things that you that you take are earth. The liquid you take, water. Of course, the air we breathe is wind or air. So we are dependent on all these external material substances. But when you achieve such a state of liberation, you become independent of depending on these things. Even in our ordinary life, there are some examples of some great meditators who are able to control their breath. Normally, for us, if you hold your breath for a few minutes, you might experience suffocation because we are very much habituated depending on the grosser level of the air or the wind. But those who have more control and know how to depend on a very subtle energy, they can stay for a long, long time without depending on the ordinary, air, ordinary wind. So this is how some of the great meditators, they control over all the four elements. They can live naked in snow mountain, things like that. Okay, so that is also one meaning. And then especially in the tantric practice, when you achieve that state of unification of the body and the mind, then the earth, water, fire, sun, moon are irrelevant. They are not necessary at all. Right? Okay. Then verse 106 is talking about how to cultivate the path of seeing. Recollection, which is mindfulness, discernment of dharmas, effort, joy, mental pliancy. Here he uses the word extreme agility, which is mental pliancy, and concentration, samadhi, and equanimity. These seven are the limbs of enlightenment, the collection of virtues bringing about nirvana's enlightenment. So in order to cultivate the path of seeing, so here nirvana also refers to path of seeing, a kind of mini enlightenment. The word enlightenment can be used on different levels. So if you achieve that kind of enlightenment on the path of seeing, then that achievement is dependent on the practice of the 7 limbs to enlightenment, which we normally use it in the 37 limbs to enlightenment. So one is mindfulness, which you all know, mindfulness of your body, your mind, your feelings, and the rest of the phenomena should always be mindful. And then discernment of dharma means wisdom. Okay, wisdom. Effort we all know, as I already explained. Joy. Joy means when you are free from having attachment to some and disliking to others. Joy. Sorry. Joy means thinking. As we do the prayer, joy means thinking how nice if all sentient beings stay in the state which is with happiness and without suffering. So this is the joy, this joy that we are talking about is similar to the joy that we talk about in the four immeasurable qualities. And then pliancy. Pliancy basically means physical pliancy and mental pliancy. Sometimes they use the word agility or suppleness and things like that. Meaning that when you continue to train your mind and body, then you achieve a state of the mind where you have no difficulty in doing any spiritual practice. And through that way, you're able to develop certain bliss in your mind. And that bliss, experience of that bliss, travels throughout your body, and your body also becomes more serviceable and supple, enabling you to do your meditation for a long time. Normally, when we sit even for half an hour, our back's hurt, our knee, we get pain on the knee and so forth, but those things will not arise because of that flow of the blissful energy throughout your body. So we need to achieve that state of. So basically, it is a thoroughly trained state of body and mind. Lanchi basically means a thoroughly trained state of the body and mind. Then concentration. Concentration, without concentration, you can't achieve anything. We discussed this earlier also. Then equanimity here. Now equanimity, just like preparing the ground, So similarly, if your mind is not equal and lopsided because of too much attachment to some and too much hatred on others, right? Then you cannot have peace. It's clearly said, I think by Chandrakshita probably, he said that if your mind is biased and lopsided, you will never experience peace. That's very true. And that's why, one of our minor Buddhist prayer is that may all sentient beings have happiness. May all sentient beings be without suffering. Right? Yes, among sentient beings, some are very helpful to you, some are very troublesome, but that is what you see in this life. But even in this life, there is no certainty among your friends and among your so-called enemies. The so-called enemy might become your dear friend next time. The so-called friend today, with just slight use of words, might get hard and then stop talking to you and become your enemy. We have many examples of that, you see. Right? So like that, you see. So there's no certainty really. Then in terms of the actual nature of the sentient beings, we cannot make any discrimination because from their own side, they are all same. We are all same in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. That is the key point. Then troubles we make, sufferings we bring because of ignorance. So it's understandable. What else you expect from ignorant people? You see, sometimes, yes, when you see many of these wrongdoings by politicians, things like that, you get angry. But then on a second, thought, second thought, then you say, oh, what more I can expect from these ignorant people, short-sighted people? Because the nature of short-sighted people is to only just think about their purpose and their, immediate circles, not beyond that. So that's how all these divisions are made in the society, you see. So that's the problem, you see. So once you understand that from a larger perspective, okay, yes, he's doing all this out of ignorance, not because of a larger perspective. So you feel sorry, but you feel that it should be forgiven, right? Okay. Equanimity. So these 7 are the limbs of enlightenment, the collection of virtues bringing about nirvana's attainment. So immediately, path of seeing, then gradually, liberation. Okay. Okay, then the next. Out of these two, wisdom and concentration, Next verse is saying there can be no concentration without wisdom. There can be no wisdom without concentration. He who has both reduces the ocean of existence to the size of an ox's hoof print. Ox's hoof print means, generally speaking, for ordinary people, samsara is like a big ocean of suffering. But when you practice these two, concentration, wisdom together, then you can reduce that big ocean-like suffering into a small, collection of water that ox's footprint can hold. So that means you can really dry up the ocean of samsara, reduce it to that extent. That's the meaning. You can make it small. Okay. So therefore, in order to cut the root of samsara, you need both concentration and wisdom. These two are helping each other. Even during your study, the more you're able to concentrate, the more you're able to increase your analytical judgment capacity. The more you engage in analytical capacity, the more you'll also be able to concentrate. So they are very closely interlinked. And generally speaking, when with the practice of concentration, you're able to reduce the obvious manifestations of samsara, suffering or afflictive emotions, but will not be able to cut the root of ignorance. It will only reduce the manifestation, but it will not be able to uproot the seed or the imprints. The one that removes the seed of ignorance is wisdom. The reason is because ignorance means not just lack of knowledge, but misconception of reality, as we discussed earlier. Misconception of reality can be removed by correct conception, which is wisdom, understanding, emptiness. That misconception of reality cannot be removed just by prayer. Just like light and darkness, you see. The darkness, a kind of encouraging thing with this example is that it may be a darkness in a house which has been dark, remained dark for 100 years, but that darkness can be removed with just pushing the switch, the on button. Just by putting that switch and bringing the light, even if it is a darkness that was there for 100 years, the darkness will go. So something like that. But I'm not encouraging you. I'm not saying that you will have push button enlightenment. But all I am saying is if you develop that right wisdom, then even if it is ignorance that has been coming from many generations, many lives, it can be eliminated. So that is very good news, right? So these two must be together. Even when you study, they're helping each other. Even when you develop it, they must come together. Okay, I think we need to stop here.
So thank you so much, Kishila. We have a question in the chat box, sent to me personally. So I'll read out that question first, if I may. It's from Helena. So she says, Kishila, I'll read out the question as it is. So she says, Tashi Delek, Kishila, thank you so much for your precious teaching. The city I'm working in is sadly known for violences and drugs. I'm 80% sure I have never been robbed because I'm being very careful and have an instinctive mistrust and avoidance of people I don't know. But I'm struggling with this mistrust, which is useful in my sense, but I also feel the need to increase my empathy and compassion for all human beings as they want happiness, as I do. The other day, I was trying not to pay attention and not be scared of this drugged woman yelling at me on the street, thinking about her as my equal. And then she started throwing rocks at me. So how can I find the right balance between staying safe and opening my heart to all human beings? That's the question.
Which is very important, practical question. There is a Tibetan saying, or rather, I think teaching, which says, if you don't trust anybody, you're a ghost. If you trust everybody, you're a stupid human being. So in your case, also, I don't think you are not trusting everybody, but I'm sure you trust some people. So that's good. It's a fine balance. Not trusting everybody right away is not indication that you don't have that love and compassion. It means, as you rightly mentioned, you are a little bit careful, which is very important. Which is very important, right? Which is very important. So that's good. Then second thing, development of empathy and compassion does not mean that you should hug everybody and touch everybody, right? It is an emotional state of your mind, right? So when you mentally, you don't bore that ill will and hatred and disliking to others, and pray and think that they be well, they be happy, then you are empathetic or compassionate person, right? As I mentioned, earlier, in terms of human relationship, I give this example of fire, So in terms of your relationship with fire, if you go too close and touch the fire, it will burn you. But if you stay too away from them, you will not get the warmth. So something like that. You need to be careful because we are ordinary people, right? There's even a Buddhist teaching which says you don't continue to stay in one place accumulating the negative deeds because of the situation surrounding. Sometimes you get a lot of problem. Then you need to find some alternative, right? Then so you're very good that you are trying your best to take good care of yourself. That is good. That's very good. We cannot, we are ordinary people. We can't immediately just say, I have compassion, then hug everybody, make yourself vulnerable. So that's why we talk so much about the need of the wisdom to analyze what is helpful, what is harmful, whether it's better to go close or not better to go close, right? So it's important to use wisdom and judge it. And mentally, you should always think about the goodness of other people. But that doesn't mean that you yourself become a victim and vulnerable to things. So sometimes, yes, if you happen to be in the wrong place where people are like drunk and throwing stones, things like that, again, the right thing is avoid those places rather than, become a target and then trying to fight back, and then trying to just justify that I'm right, he is wrong, then you already brought a lot of problem, So right from the beginning, I think what you are doing is right. Be careful. Be careful, yeah.
Thank you, Kishla. Next, we have Natasha.
Thank you very much, Kishela. We have two questions. The first one is from Dinara, and she asks, how can we feel that we are connected with all the sentient beings, not intellectually, but on emotional level?
Emotional level, like human beings, of course, very clear. Then other animals, other sentient beings, whether you see them or not see them, they are all living on the same universe or same planet where you are living, right? Now, some of the scientists, they say that if a butterfly flips its wing on one end of the world, it will leave its impact on the other side of the world. So that tells the connection. You may or you may not feel it, but that shows the connection is there. Number one, right? And number two, whether you like it or do not like it, what we are experiencing, positive experience or negative experience, they all come from a multiplicity of causes and conditions. And those causes and conditions include things caused by human beings, things caused by hungry ghosts, things caused by other animals, and things like that. You may not be able to see it. For example, I put some Tibetan, tsamba that just Tibetan barley flour in a small container. Not some milk powder. Then when in the morning, when I opened it, I saw very tiny, small, black, kind of flies. So I really got surprised. How did these flies got into it? They're so tiny, almost imperceptible to the mind, to the eye. Then next day, I closed it very tight. Then after that, they were not there. Meaning that if there's a very little, tiny place they can go inside it. So I'm talking about some of these perceptible insects. There are many, which is imperceptible to us. It may be entering your nose, entering your mouth. That's why we need to mask all the time. Things like that. So we are connected to this, you see. So through that way, you can see our relationship to other sentient beings, even those which are not directly perceptible to our naked eyes, like the COVID-19. Okay.
Geshe, I just would like to, maybe I was not very clear. As far as I understand the question, it is maybe more about we have this intellectual knowledge that we are all connected, it's very logical, but how can we make it our kind of internal experience, something that we can feel?
Internal experience, you can, as I said earlier, in the case of human beings, just as you want happiness, all other human beings want happiness. So by extension, you can say just as you want happiness, all sentient beings want happiness. And I think that is quite clear. However tiny, small, helpless, any particular, insect or virus may be, but it's 100% sure that they want some kind of happiness and peace, The reason that they move around in search of food or, place to stay, whatever, everybody's moving in search of something, some search of happiness. So from that, you can conclude that they also want happiness, do not want suffering. So with that, you can conclude that they are same like us. So we should, in our behavior, try to live in such a way that we do not put negative impact on their life. Okay.
Thank you very much. And the second question is from Ina. It is related to the things that we were talking about during the last session, the sufferings of animals. And she says that today, some people are promoting very actively so-called keto food. Maybe you've heard about it. This is a diet which supposes that we eat animal product mostly, and it is said to be very good for your health. But there is a contradiction here. On the one hand, it helps you with many problems. They say like oncological problems, like diabetes and so on. But on the other hand, we have to kind of kill, the animals have to be killed. What is your opinion on this regard?
I think I told earlier that we are living in the age of information, but most of the information are junk information. So don't be gullible. You don't have to listen to everybody. Use your common sense. Okay, we can't get those non-vegetarian food without losing the lives of other animals. So is it a good thing that others be killed? Use your common sense, right? And then also on the other side, to be vegetarian, the benefits of vegetarian, there are so many scientific evidences, personal experience, and so forth. So therefore, weigh the reasons, which one has more reason, which one has less reason. So follow those commonsensical things rather than simply listening to everybody. Because if you listen to everybody, you will completely be fooled, because many of the advertisements are done by business people. They simply want to sell things and make money, you see. It's not necessarily they are right, but they will come with some kind of reason to prove that, it's good for you, because they want to sell it. But that doesn't mean it is good. I told you, I gave you this example earlier, there's so many advertisements. There are some, advertisements of some face creams. They say that it is so good that you use it for 1 or 2 weeks, you will become, what they call light skinned or fair skin or things like that. But some people have using that same screen for months, nothing. So there are so many examples like that, so use our common sense. Don't just follow the advertisement. Don't just follow the information. Okay.
So thank you, Geshe. Now we have a question from Tara.
Tashi Delek, Geshe. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
My question is a small one because I downloaded the text which came with this teaching right in the beginning, and I keep coming across this word trance. So also in verse number 106, that out of the 7 factors of enlightenment, the 6th one, just before equanimity, even-mindedness, the 6th one is trance. Is that for samadhi or concentration?
Yeah, I don't know. There's the I need to go and find the translator and but I think that many people use this word trance for meditation or one point of concentration. So many of these translations in the beginning stage, they are not very good.
Right.
Because
right.
many of these people who did the translation, they don't have a very good grasp of the actual meaning of the Buddhist teaching. But trance means it, like in Tibetan society, we have the medium of a particular oracle who goes into trance, So one point of concentration is not, make you enter into a kind of trance, but the purpose of that concentration is to make you more, more human.
Yes.
Rather than get lost in a trance, you see.
And also more focused, I thought.
More focus. So it's not for kind of hallucination, So I think the word trance probably maybe not a good word.
Thank you.
So I did not read that also. The one I'm reading is also so. So always the best is my translation. So you can see the ego there. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, no, I did.
So it's difficult. That's why the translators, supposed to be a translator. So the difficulty of the translator is that he should really be very good in both the target language and the source language, you see. So many of us are, not qualified for that. In Tibet, we used to say that one who is a translator means, for example, Dharma translator means he himself is a highly learned Buddhist master, like Berosana, Kawapaltsik, Choruli Johnson. They were like great scholars, you see. And then similarly, in the West also, they say a qualified translator of law himself or herself is a good lawyer, you see.
Yes.
So it's not like, translating in a travel and tools company.
Exactly. The philosophical concepts are harder to do, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Then we borrow from other religion, borrow from other culture,
Right.
So it's like, as we say, putting the yaks on a sheep's head or something like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Tara. Thank you, Geshe. So we have one last question from Jackie. If we may. Jackie, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I was wondering, some teachers have implied that you can understand.
I can't hear you properly.
Oh, can you hear me better now? Hold
Little
on.
bit better.
How about now?
Yeah, say it.
Okay. Oh, is it the same? Should I write my question?
Little bit better, yeah.
Okay. Some teachers have implied you can understand wisdom without pliancy. Is that true? Or
wisdom without what?
Pliancy, physical pliancy, that you could understand emptiness without.
Okay.
Is that where Tantra comes in?
No. When we talk about the physical and mental pliancy, these are important requisites for achieving one-pointed concentration, especially what we call as the shamat, one-pointed concentration. For achieving that, you need achieving physical and mental pliancy. And for developing that proper wisdom, you need proper concentration. So which means you need physical and mental buoyancy. So this is something that is necessary even in the sutra practice. So it's not something that is only needed in tantric practice. Of course, you need that both in sutra practice and also tantric practice. Because as I explained earlier, the physical, well-trained physical state, well-trained mental state is necessary both for the sutric and tantric practice.
And sorry to go on. And the pliancy, but that is like you should be able to meditate for hours, right? Is that when it? I'm just wondering when pliancy suddenly hits. When?
Yeah. It's not just physical and mental pliancy, but for achieving proper concentration, you need to spend, I think, a lot of time. The reason is because when you make attempt, whether it's removing the negative emotions or achieving the one point of concentration, you are doing something which you are not habituated. And that takes time. As simple as that.
Oh no, I meant more, does it hit, you achieve pliancy if you can meditate for a certain number of hours? Is that, never mind.
No.
I'm a long way from there,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
There's no definite number of hours or days, but the point is that yes, you need to make effort, and then depending upon how much you make effort. So it's not only making effort; you also need to purify your negative emotions. So with the collection of all those needed factors, then it will be probably quicker. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you so much, Kishila. Thanks
yeah.
from all of us. There are lots of thank yous going on in the chat box, so may I please offer them to you? And also thank you from the foundation for leading these sessions. So thank you so much, Kishila. And thank you everybody for being here and making this community. And big thanks to those who ask questions. They're very enlightening, especially Kishila's answers. So thanks everybody. And now we'll request Kishila to please lead the prayers. Yes.
Omane peme hon gevandi nyuto da chere se wan tu jenen bawa chikya mali ba tiye salang go bara showa. Thank you.